My name is Andrew Miller, and I learned what it feels like to be erased while still breathing. I used to think abandonment meant someone physically walking away from you, packing a suitcase, slamming a door, never coming back. I was wrong. Sometimes abandonment is quieter than that. Sometimes it happens while you're still sitting at the dinner table. I was 14 when my younger brother Lucas got sick. It wasn't something small. It was serious enough that hospital visits became routine. Doctors, specialists, tests, words I couldn't pronounce. Words that made my parents stop sleeping. And I understood. I really did. At first I tried to be the easy child. I stopped asking for things. I stopped complaining. I handled my homework alone. I made my own dinners some nights. I told myself this was temporary. Families go through hard seasons. This was just ours. But the season never ended. Lucas eventually recovered. The treatments worked. The hospital visits slowed down. Everyone called it a miracle. And that's when I slowly disappeared. My parents treated him like something fragile that could break at any moment. They watched him constantly, praised him constantly, protected him constantly. Every small achievement he made was celebrated like a championship win. When I brought home straight A's, my mom said, "That's good, Andrew," without looking up from Lucas's science project. When Lucas got a C, my dad said, "That's okay, buddy. You're trying your best." I told myself I was being dramatic, that I was jealous, that I should be ashamed for even feeling this way. But feelings don't disappear just because you shame them. The real shift happened when I turned 16. Lucas wanted to try out for soccer. Practices were across town. My parents adjusted their work schedules to drive him. They bought him new cleats, private coaching sessions, protein shakes, the works. That same month, I asked if I could join a coding boot camp at school. It cost $200. My dad sighed. "We're stretched thin right now." $200. I started working at a local hardware store after school to pay for it myself. That's when I noticed something else. Whenever relatives visited, the conversations centered on Lucas, his recovery, his bravery, his second chance at life. I became the background character in my own house. If I spoke up, I was interrupting. If I stayed quiet, I was moody. If I asked for attention, I was selfish. By the time I graduated high school, I had stopped expecting anything. I got accepted into a state university 2 hours away. I was proud of myself. I had decent grades. I had saved money from working part-time. I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be the moment they looked at me and felt proud. My dad said, "That's good. You'll be close enough if Lucas needs anything." That sentence stuck with me. If Lucas needs anything. Not if I need anything. The summer before college, my parents sat me down at the kitchen table. It felt formal. Too formal. My mom said they had been thinking. My dad said college would be a good opportunity for independence. They explained they wouldn't be able to financially support me much because Lucas still had follow-up medical expenses and extracurricular commitments. I said I understood. But then my dad added something that made my chest feel hollow. "It might be better if you plan to stay on campus year-round. Lucas needs stability at home." Stability. I realized they were asking me not to come back. Not directly. Not brutally. Just strategically. They framed it as growth, as opportunity, as adulthood. But the message was clear. This house is no longer yours. Move forward. I packed most of my things before freshman year and never fully unpacked emotionally. College was harder than I expected. Not academically, financially, mentally. I worked 25 hours a week at a campus warehouse loading shipments. I studied at night. I skipped social events because I couldn't afford them. Meanwhile, my parents renovated my old bedroom. I found out through social media. They turned it into a home gym for Lucas. They painted over the walls I had put up posters on, replaced my desk, removed every trace of me. When I confronted my mom about it, she laughed lightly. "Well, you're not living here anymore." That was the moment something inside me snapped quietly. I stopped calling as often. They didn't notice. I stopped visiting during holidays. They said they understood. Lucas got into a competitive travel soccer league. My parents traveled across states for his tournaments. I graduated college with honors. They sent a text. "We're proud of you." No one came to the ceremony. I told my friends my parents couldn't make it because of health stuff. I didn't correct them. After graduation, I didn't move back home. I found a small studio apartment in another city and took an entry-level IT support job. The pay wasn't great, but it was mine. Everything in that apartment belonged to me. No comparisons, no favoritism, no invisible hierarchy, just me. A year later, I went back to my hometown for a friend's wedding. I ran into my family at a grocery store. Lucas was taller, stronger, confident. My parents looked happy. When they saw me, there was this awkward pause, like I was an old classmate, not their son. We talked about surface-level things, work, weather, soccer. At one point, my mom said, "You've always been so independent." I wanted to say, "You made me that way." But I didn't. I realized something in that aisle between canned goods and cereal boxes. They didn't think they abandoned me. In their minds, they had simply prioritized the child who needed more. They convinced themselves I was strong enough not to need them. Strength became the excuse for neglect. I walked out of that store feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. Heavier because I finally accepted the truth. Lighter because I stopped waiting for something that was never coming. I used to replay everything in my head. What if I had acted out more? What if I had demanded attention? What if I had been less capable? Would they have loved me differently? Now I understand something that took years to process. A child should not have to shrink or break to be seen. I am 24 now. I pay my own rent. I built my own career. I built friendships that feel more like family than blood ever did. Sometimes I still feel the echo of being replaced. Sometimes I still wonder what it would feel like to be chosen without conditions. But I also know this. They may have slowly erased me from their house. They did not erase me from existence. This is my confession. I was not the miracle. I was not the priority. I was the son who was strong enough to be left behind. And somehow, I survived long enough to build a life that does not depend on being needed to be valued.